I'm looking forward to that fight even more so now that I've been in the camp and been sharing the ring a lot lately. Um, I believe that Willie will get the job done in very, very good fashion. I think he's going to surprise a lot of people. And I think he's going to make a big, big statement in this fight.
Yeah, it's going to be a good fight, to be fair. Obviously, Willie had a good win against Craig Richards. It was a bit of an aging Craig Richards, but yeah, nonetheless a really good win. And obviously, Buatsi's not really put a foot wrong, really. And I see it being a really good fight. I probably see Buatsi probably going to get a late stoppage just through experience. And he's been light heavy for quite a bit now, and really's only just come up, really, hasn't he? So, but we never know. This is boxing, isn't it? So anything can happen. So yeah, it's going to be a good fight for the fans.
So I would lean towards Buatsi to beat him. It's going to be tricky early doors. It's one of those where if he has got into Buatsi's head, where Buatsi's not using his brain and he's fighting with his heart and his aggression too much, then it could be a frustrating night. And the more frustrated he gets, the more he walks onto shots and the peppering, and it can take its toll. So we know that Buatsi gets hit with the right hands. You know, throughout his career, he's been hit with right hands. And you don't want to be taking too many right hands against Willy Hutchinson. But I do think, although Craig Richards didn't do much in the fight, I thought when there was I don't know, around 7, 8, something like that, he started firing right hands straight to the body of Willie, and they seemed to have an impact. And you know, when a fight seems to sway, and you kind of thought, oh, is this swaying in the other way now? And Willie looked a little bit ragged. But then Craig stopped throwing those body shots and was back waiting and headhunting, and Willie got himself together and just and you know, got himself together and continued winning the fight. I just think that Virgil Hunter is a key factor in the fight.
Yeah.
He's a very, very calming influence, you know. When me and Stephen Cairns was out in San Francisco, I think it was, we went over to it was San Francisco. We went over to Virgil's gym, and I saw him at work with just finishing, but I just saw him around Buatsi, and it's so good to be around him, and you see that demeanor, you see how Josh is with him. I think no matter how his emotions are with Willie at the press conference fight week, with the weighing at fight, because trust Willie's going to be trying to get under his skin even more. No matter what buttons he's pressing, I just think that influence around him is going to bring him back down and remind him what they've been working on, remind him what his job is, and to be focused. And I think that'll be a key in the fight. And I think the body punches will be the difference in a fight. I think it'll be a good fight. I think it'll be tricky early doors. Willie's going to have success, but ultimately, I do think that Buatsi beats him.
I think that's exactly what I want, is Joshua Buatsi to be angry and spiteful, because when Joshua Buatsi is spiteful, he's dangerous, and that's the best Joshua Buatsi that we'll see in a ring. So when I'm seeing that, and Willie is a controversial character and will wind him up, I think that's playing into Buatsi's hands. It gives him that spark. It gives him that spite that perhaps he didn't have against Dan Aziz, even though it was a great fight. That was his friend. I want him spiteful, and I think he's going to put on a devastating performance on September 21st. I really do.
I went against Willy Hutchinson with Craig Richards, so I'm not going to go against him again. But I think he's got into Joshua Buatsi's head. That can lower your level. He beat Richards better than Buatsi did. Don't know, it's a good fight, that. It's a very good fight. We've seen Joshua Buatsi get a bit hurt off Craig Richards. Don't know, it's going to be an hard fight. Only Buatsi's going to win if he pushes him non-stop, which he does do, and Willie runs out of gas. That's the only factor I've got against Willie.
Yeah, the perspective on this fight is a little bit skewed off of the back of at least how I perceived Willy Hutchinson's fight with Craig Richards to go. Craig Richards, an accomplished fighter, a real hard fighter as well too. Tough fighter, never taken the easy route. Never been a favored fighter either. Had to go away for fights and win to get his opportunities, and he's done that. He carries a bit of power with him too, and he's a good fighter, a good boxer as well. And I expected really here for Craig to be able to put a dent in Willy Hutchinson, much akin to how Lennox Clark was able to do that and maybe stop Willy Hutchinson. But Willy was on another level that night. He just showed how good of a boxer, showed the talent, and showed what the potential and the talk about Willy Hutchinson when he came through about how much of a consummate boxer he was. That really shone through on that night. And there was talk about him not being really all that great at super middle and needing to go up the levels, and that would help him. And you thought, well, a fighter who really doesn't punch all that hard and maybe has a bit of fragility when he's getting stopped by Lennox Clark, is light heavyweight going to favor him? He looked really comfortable at light heavyweight. He looked really competent at light heavyweight against someone who's had world title fights and on another night might have come out as world champion against Dimitri Bivol. Yeah, it was a real good performance from Willy Hutchinson, but I don't think he has enough in the tank here to contend with someone like Joshua Buatsi. Buatsi as well too is someone who has been waiting for his opportunity at world title level, probably because Beterbiev and Bivol are at such a high level, and waiting for that to materialize the undisputed light heavyweight titles to be fought for, and then the belts to fragment, and then capture one of those belts like this interim belt that he's got right now, or maybe have a crack at one of the two when the timing is right. And Buatsi again hadn't shown his potential as well too. He's shown fits and spurts of his potential, but not really been at that high level yet, like his other rivals have, like Anti Yard has, like Craig Richards has, as we were talking about. Never really taken that opportunity, and we were kind of looking to see Joshua Buatsi have that type of fight there. The only real fight where I've seen Joshua Buatsi have a real bit of adversity is against Marko Kalic, and that was a number of years ago now. And ever since then, he's really kind of like should not been at the level that we want to see from Buatsi. Hopefully, this fight does set up that. And against Willy Hutchinson, I think Willy's going to look good in the first few rounds, and I think Joshua Buatsi is going to push through the gears here. I think he might actually end up stopping Willy Hutchinson in the later rounds. So I'm going for Buatsi by TKO victory in round 9.
So Willy Hutchinson has looked so much better since moving up to light heavyweight. Obviously, his super middleweight journey culminated in that devastating defeat to Lennox Clark, who I'm not sure quite what's happened to Lennox, if he's retired or if he's just taken a well-earned break. But we would like to see him back. A bit of an aside there, but he's a lovely fella. Yeah, and he's looked better, but against mediocre opposition until the opportunity came up to fight Craig Richards on the 5v5 show, and just seemed to confuse him. Maybe Richards was expecting Hutchinson to be more aggressive in the fight. I certainly was, but thought more of a counter-punching style. Thought it was quite an impressive win for him as well. I know there's a lot of talk about Richards and why he didn't perform to expectations, but how much of that was down to Hutchinson not letting him? You know, I thought it was an excellent performance. He's earned this shot and comes into this as is he WBO interim champion, as I said at the start? I'm starting to think maybe it's vacant and they're both going for it. I can't remember which way round it is, but Buatsi's been waiting for an opportunity like this for a long time, and it comes against someone that he may not even consider his best opponent to date, which is an interesting one. We want to see the Buatsi we saw against Ricards Bolotniks, I guess, the clinical, aggressive fighter, not the one who's, laboured to an extent in points wins over his friends in Craig Richards and Dan Aziz. This is someone that, if you think the pre-fight fracas between the two was authentic, should be able to get Buatsi's blood pumping a bit more. So I agree with Eamon in that I think Buatsi is too good overall, just a good all-rounder, experienced Olympic bronze medalist. I think he can get the job done inside the distance. I think a lot of the defeat to Lennox Clark for Hutchinson was because of the weight, but I think there is, I don't think he can take an amazing shot. I think he can take a shot, but I think Buatsi, when he's on form, is clinical, accurate, and hard hitting. And I think he can find the shots, particularly in the second half of the fight, to get Hutchinson out of there as he tires. You know, Buatsi has been the 12-round distance a lot more. I'm not sure if Hutchinson ever has. Was the Richards fight 12? Was it 10? I'd have to double check. But this is certainly a territory that Joshua Buatsi knows well, and this could really be his coming out performance, in my view.
It's hard to say because, like, obviously Willy is. I know a lot of people judge him on the Lennox Clark loss, but he's also had a good stellar amateur career doing his thing, as well as Josh. Obviously, he's won a bronze. They don't hand out these medals. But speaking from the pro ranks, obviously Josh has been kind of trialed a bit. He's been in some fights where he's had to grind through it. And I think when it does get to the trenches kind of stuff, he's proven it, But they're all both seemingly confident. They both got 2 arms, 2 hands, so it's who's landing, you know what I mean? Who I know most of the public are probably going with Buatsi on the win. But it's one of those fights, whoever turns up on the day. There's loads of people who are writing up for the fighters, and Buatsi can't sleep on him. Willy Hutchinson can't sleep on Buatsi. So whoever wins doesn't bother me, but I hope they're putting a good fight, man.